I think that greed is so incredibly ugly and pervasive that these guys want it. They want more and more. I think they could care less about what's happening to the elderly, the children, the working class of this country. And I believe that they will do anything that they can to enrich themselves, and Trump is clear.
Donald Trump just walked into a verbal buzzsaw, and Bernie Sanders was the one revving the engine. This wasn't just a political takedown. It was an all-out demolition, the kind that leaves no room for spin or excuses.
It's not just that Trump is a pathological liar, and he is. It's not just that he's a sexist and wants to deny women the right to vote, that he's a xenophobe, saying horrible things about immigrants. It's worse than that. He does not really believe in democracy, and everything he is doing is trying to undermine the faith of the American people in our democracy.
Trump thought he could dodge and deflect like always. But Bernie dismantled him, piece by piece, live on air. Buckle up. This meltdown is one for the ages. Let's call it what it is.
Trump claimed that the 2020 election was stolen from him and that he won by a landslide. Remember that? A lie. Trump claimed that the January 6th insurrection was a day of love. A lie. Trump has claimed that millions of undocumented people voted and do vote in American elections. A lie. Trump has claimed that climate change is a hoax originating in China. A lie.
Trump doesn't just lie, which he does constantly. He doesn't just peddle fear, division, and bigotry. The real issue runs deeper. He doesn't believe in democracy. Every scheme, every rant, every grievance-filled speech is designed to make Americans lose faith in their own system. Convince them that their votes don't count, that their voices don't matter.
It's not just Medicaid that Trump's budget would cut. It would also cut nutrition assistance by at least $230 billion. Now, I want you to think about that for a moment. And can you imagine? The billionaire class, people who can support their families, some of these guys have tens of billions of dollars, support their families for the next 10 generations, 50 generations. People who live in incredible opulence. People who own their own jet planes, they own their own private islands, they own their own spaceships, trying to get tax breaks by taking food out of the mouths of low-income kids. That truly is disgusting.
And Bernie? He's had it. Dealing with Trump's nonsense is like arguing with a guy who cheated at a board game and is now throwing a tantrum because no one wants to play with him anymore. He still clings to the absurd claim that the 2020 election was stolen. A lie. He calls the January 6th insurrection a beautiful day. A lie. He swears millions of undocumented immigrants are voting in US elections. A lie. And then there's his greatest hit. Climate change? Just a hoax cooked up by China. Trump's real skill isn't leadership, business, or diplomacy. It's spewing absolute nonsense with unshakable conviction. Watching him is like seeing someone juggle flaming chainsaws while the floor crumbles beneath him, convinced he's delivering a masterpiece. But Bernie? Oh, Bernie was done playing along. The man who spent his entire career fighting for working people finally let loose. And honestly, who wouldn't? Trump's budget doesn't just attack Medicaid, it slashes over $230 billion from food assistance programs. Let that sink in. Billionaires stockpile obscene amounts of wealth, lounging on private yachts and jetting between mansions, while working families are left scrambling to put food on the table. It's beyond greed. It's outright cruelty. Picture the moment. Bernie, eyes burning with righteous fury, fists clenched, as Trump rambles through yet another incoherent excuse. It was the kind of confrontation where even the most patient person on earth would start seeing red. And Trump? He had nothing. No facts, no defense. Just more of the same tired bluster, more attempts to shift the blame, more empty bravado. Bernie laid it out, plain and simple. If Trump gets back in power, it won't just be an economic disaster. It'll supercharge far-right extremism across the world. Worst-case scenario? The American experiment, 250 years in the making, could start crumbling before our eyes. And Bernie? He's making damn sure people wake up before it's too late. If reality had a health bar, every time Donald Trump speaks, it takes a massive hit. The man can bend facts into fiction, rewrite history on the spot, and somehow always make himself the victim. If the sky is blue, Trump will insist it's red. call you a liar for disagreeing, and then demand a standing ovation for his brilliant insight. And Bernie's been watching this circus act for years. But this time, he was done holding back. Once again, Donald Trump's legendary talent for incoherent rambling has landed him in hot water. This time, setting off Bernie Sanders like never before. Because in Trump's universe, he's always the genius, the warrior, the ultimate American savior. The man can't just exist like a normal former president. No, he has to constantly remind the world that he's the greatest to ever do it. And honestly, it would almost be impressive if it weren't so painfully ridiculous. But Bernie was locked and loaded. This was the political equivalent of a professor completely obliterating a student's nonsense-filled essay, line by line, fact by fact. Trump was up there spewing his usual mix of self-praise, revisionist history, and verbal gymnastics, but Bernie wasn't about to let him skate by. Let's pause for a second to appreciate the sheer contrast. On one side, you have Bernie Sanders, a man who's been fighting for working Americans since gas was under $1. A guy who's been calling out corporate greed before Trump even figured out how to trademark his name on cheap steak and failed casinos. On the other side, there's Donald Trump, a man whose entire brand is built on convincing people he's a billionaire while sidestepping bankruptcy like it's a professional sport. A guy who cares more about gold-plated toilets than actual policy. And tonight, Bernie was done playing nice. You could see it in the way he adjusted his glasses, like a man about to drop the mother of all reality checks. Trump strutted in, demanding Congress pass his so-called big, beautiful budget. But did he mention what's actually inside that budget? Of course not. Because here's the reality. It slashes $880 billion from Medicaid. That's right. $880 billion ripped away from a program that keeps millions of Americans afloat. That means up to 36 million people, many of them children, losing their health care. Trump stood on stage for 90 minutes and never once, not once, addressed that brutal fact. Instead, he delivered the same recycled nonsense, bloated exaggerations, hollow slogans, and childish nicknames that sound like they were brainstormed by a middle schooler. But Bernie wasn't here for the sideshow. Tonight, he laid it out, plain and simple. This isn't just about reckless policies. Trump is a fundamental threat to democracy itself. And Bernie Sanders? He's making damn sure America doesn't sleepwalk into another disaster. Trump's ego is so inflated it could replace the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade balloon. His promises? They have all the stability of a Jenga tower in an earthquake. It's going to be great, folks. The best. Nobody's ever done it before. Which, in Trump speak, roughly translates to, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but if I say it loudly enough, maybe you won't notice. Yet somehow, Trump keeps getting away with it. How? Distraction. It's his most dangerous weapon, and let's be real. He wields it like a master manipulator. While Bernie shouts, waves his arms, and lays out the cold, hard facts, Trump keeps running his never-ending reality show. And as long as people keep tuning in, the working class stays stuck in the background, waiting for their turn that never comes. So where does that leave us? Bernie will keep fighting. Trump will keep lying. And the rest of us? We'll keep watching this absurd political soap opera play out. But at least for one brief moment, we got to see Bernie completely obliterate Trump in real time. For that, we're grateful. Bernie's frustration is proof that even the most patient leaders have a breaking point. And the fact that Trump can push someone like Bernie to the edge, that says everything about the state of things right now.